In this week's Torah portion, Vayakhel, we are introduced to all of the instructions that the Lord gave for the priesthood, for some of the elements of the tabernacle, as well as for the holy garments of the priests. You may be under the impression that this week's recipe, jeweled rice, is based on the breastplate of the high priest, which has 12 different types of jewels. Although that is an option and a really good guess, the decision was really based on another part of Aaron's high priestly garment that I hope we can explore together today. Aaron was commanded by the Lord to wear alternating bells and pomegranates around the bottom of his blue robe to inform others of his coming into the holy place so that he would not die. You shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue, and upon its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around, a golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, upon the hem of the robe all around. And it shall be upon Aaron when he ministers, and its sound will be heard when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, that he may not die. After quite a bit of research, I was very puzzled, and I asked the Lord, why would Aaron wearing bells and pomegranates around the bottom of his robe keep him from dying? Now maybe you have heard this, but many believe that the bells have something to do with when the high priest went into the Holy of Holies, so that the other priests would know if he had died. The theory is they would know he had died because the bells stopped ringing and they could pull him out. This legend that originated sometime in the Middle Ages is absolutely not true. Remember, the high priest only wore the blue robe in the holy place, not the Holy of Holies. He couldn't wear any bells in the Holy of Holies because the only day he went into the Holy of Holies was Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and he could only wear white linen because if he wore anything else, he would be unclean and he would certainly die. After I prayed for an answer, I now believe the reason Aaron had to wear the bells and pomegranates was to stress an amazing symbolism regarding our Messiah Yeshua, the true high priest. Bells are only mentioned in 2 passages of scripture, and this week's Parsha is the second time. The first time was in Parsha Tamei, when the Lord initially gave the instructions for the priestly garments. The second time, it was in this Parsha, when they were finally creating them. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe all around between the pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe, to minister in, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now we will discuss a little bit about the lovely and important fruit, the pomegranate, mentioned in 25 different verses spanning 11 books of the Bible. Pomegranates are the only fruit where the seed is the only edible part of the fruit. Pomegranates have many spiritual significances. Because of their many seeds, many believe that they symbolize the many commandments or mitzvot of the Lord. Pomegranates could also symbolize fruitfulness, and especially from a Messianic perspective, it could mean sharing our faith in Yeshua with others. A very interesting biblical fact is that pomegranates are one of the fruits that the spies brought back from the Promised Land. But of all the fruits from the Promised Land and named elsewhere in the Torah, why did the Lord choose the pomegranate for the high priest's robe? In praying about the significance of Aaron wearing the pomegranates and bells, the answer I got was that the high priest was supposed to represent our high priest, Messiah Yeshua, who rings bells to inform us of his coming. For some people, these bells are warning bells because we may not be loving him and obeying his commandments as we ought to be. For others, the bells are bells of celebration because we know that he is coming back to take us to the Promised Land. This week's dish is jeweled rice. The original recipe for this dish, Persian jeweled rice, is actually commonly used for weddings in the Middle East. I felt it appropriate since we are the bride of Yeshua, our great high priest, but the original recipe for jeweled rice also seems to be very expensive, with some difficult to find ingredients, and it was also a bit time intensive. So I went with a simpler recipe, which I hope will also be good. What ultimately made me decide upon this specific recipe is the color of the rice resembles the gold of the bells, together with the pomegranate seeds, which hopefully will remind us of the uniquely beautiful and musical fringe of the high priest's garment that reminds us to live a fruitful life of obedience to him. I pray you and your family will enjoy this dish to commemorate the Vayakhel Torah portion. This recipe comes from veganatlas.com. The ingredients: 1½ tablespoons of olive oil or vegan butter, 1 medium onion finely chopped, 1 medium carrot peeled and finely diced, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic minced, 1 teaspoon of good quality curry powder, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 2 bay leaves optional, 1½ cups of white basmati, japonica, or other long grain rice, 3 cups of vegetable broth or water with 1 vegetable bouillon cube, 1/4 cup of orange juice, seeds from 1/2 to 1 pomegranate to your liking, salt and freshly ground pepper to taste, and parsley or cilantro for garnish. A quick testimony about the rice. The day after I printed out this recipe, the Lord provided the basmati rice needed. However, it was steamed basmati, so I altered the recipe a bit to be able to use it. The video you will see is of the altered recipe. So what I did first was I put oil in the pan to heat up, and then I put in the curry powder, the cinnamon, and then I put in the basmati and the orange juice and stirred it around to get it all coated. Then I switched pans, another about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, minced onion, carrot, vegetable broth, orange juice, and then I used the half a cup of pomegranate seeds, salt and pepper, and parsley flakes. Instructions: heat the oil or vegan butter in a stir-fry pan or large deep skillet. Add the onion and carrot and saute over medium heat until golden. Add the garlic and continue to saute for 2 minutes longer. Add the rice to the pan along with the broth or water with bouillon cube and orange juice. Stir in the curry powder, cinnamon, and optional bay leaves. Bring to a gentle boil. Then lower the heat and simmer gently with the cover ajar for 20 minutes or until the broth is absorbed. If the rice isn't done to your liking, add a half cup more broth or water and simmer until absorbed. Stir in the pomegranate seeds, then season with salt and pepper. Serve at once. Garnish each serving with leaves from a sprig or 2 of parsley or cilantro. Thank you so much for watching this video. May your Vayakhel Torah portion be blessed, and may the Lord richly bless all of you and your families.